Hey, what's up? Chris Redbeard video back with you to talk about the amazing weekend I just had. Memorial Day weekend means only one thing: Sonic Temple Festival. That's right, this weekend was finally Sonic Temple Festival, and after months and months and months and months of waiting, I finally got to go and kick off festival season fully. I know that 2 or 3 weeks ago I said that festival season had kicked off with M3 Festival in Maryland, and it did. No disrespect to that festival, but Sonic Temple / Rock on the Range, that's where it's at, and it's officially branded as Sonic Temple, but people always go, duh, it's range season, like, because it was like a big thing. So I always got to throw it in there for those old head people who are, still in love with the idea of Rock on the Range. It used to be Rock on the Range, now it's Sonic Temple. And I have to say right off the bat, there will be another video that accompanies this one, and it'll be much shorter because there was some bullshit that happened at this festival, but it's not the fault of the festival, so I don't want to dwell on it in this festival, because I have to say that this is now my 25th or 26th festival in my lifetime, and I have to say that this probably was the best one that I was ever at. Now, I will say that I did not spend all day every day at this festival like I had done at the past. So for me, there was zero fat on this festival. I saw what I wanted to see, and everything that I saw was chef's kiss, except for one. There was one artist that I was kind of forced to see by the people I was with, but that was because they kind of don't like that artist and they kind of wanted to see the crash and burn effect of that band. So I'll get into that and everything else I saw right now. So, Sonic Temple Festival in Columbus, Ohio. First and foremost, let me just tell you that the city of Columbus, just awesome. I've never been to an event like this where I've really never ever once got stressed out, annoyed, or pissed off at traffic in the city or anywhere in the outlying suburbs of the city or the city. It was never like so locked down that I had to sit in traffic for like more than 10 minutes. Like and for a major city, and it is a major city, it's a smaller city, but it's still a major city. And when you have 60,000 plus people descend upon a city, that's a heavy load for a city to take. So they do an excellent job. I don't know. I didn't see a lot of police presence. I guess it just happens that way. I don't really know. Maybe it's just the way the city is laid out. But in any case, they do a wonderful job. So we have to give it up for the city. Also, I did bring my new bride with me, who is an antique dealer. And she went on her own adventures and said that Columbus is a place we will be visiting on a regular basis because the antiquing and the record stores, and there's just a lot of cool stuff in Columbus. So good to you, Columbus. Awesome city, and we'll certainly be back. I mean, definitely for Sonic Temple Festival every year, but we'll even be coming back throughout the year. So good job. Good people of Columbus, you've won us, so that's awesome. As far as the festival goes, I will say that I didn't have to battle a lot of traffic because I have secret parking spaces all over the city that I was, after doing this festival every year since 2016, I've been able to find my places to park and not have to pay the exorbitant prices for parking, and B, deal with all the traffic at the beginning and ending of every day. So maybe that's an unfair advantage, but you can all figure it out too if you wanted to. It's a fun little game to do every single year. With that being said, once I'm inside the festival, let's get to the inside. The artwork this year, before we even get to the performances, the artwork was so dope this year. So on point. Fantastic. The shirts were great. I was a little disappointed that they only had one design for hoodies. I'm a collector of hoodies. I'm no longer a collector of t-shirts. T-shirts tend to wear out a lot quicker. And I live in a place that's cold 6 months out of the year. So I would have bought a t-shirt maybe if they were a little less expensive. They weren't terribly priced, honestly. $35 for a t-shirt at a concert and a festival at this point is really not that bad, considering I think the band merch was more in the $45 to $50 range for the t-shirts and whatnot and going on up. The hoodie design that they did have was pretty cool. It's just not one that I was in love with. And I wound up buying hoodies somewhere else, which I will get to in a moment, because I'm going to mention all the phenomenal vendors that I had a chance to visit, which wasn't a ton because, like I said, I trimmed all the fat off this festival. So I spent a lot of time in the city of Columbus. We ate in the city of Columbus. We ate at a wonderful place called the Rusty Bucket a few times, and that was really fantastic in Columbus. And we did a lot of shopping within the video, which maybe I'll make a separate video for. Maybe I'll just, make a short and I'll pay homage to those stores in a separate video, and go into greater detail. But I will mention the best name for a record store that I've ever heard is in the city of Columbus, and that is Magnolia Thunder Pussy. This was an awesome store, a classic old school record store, and with a name like Magnolia Thunder Pussy, you can't go wrong. It was fantastic. One thing that I noticed this year that was significantly different from before we get into any of the performances, another thing that I noticed this year that was really, really fantastic is they had these free water bars. It was just and they were posted throughout the venue, and they weren't like traditional like water fountains where you would go and put your mouth on it, and so people would put their filthy mouths on, because we all have filthy mouths. I'm not saying that you people have filthy mouths and I don't.
Hey, shut your filthy mouth.
We all do. We all have filthy ass mouths, okay? So if you had a bottle, you were allowed to bring a clear bottle with you. It was clearly stated in the rules. You could bring a clear bottle, and if you had a clear bottle with you, they had like spigots of water, and they were plentiful. Like each water bar, it wasn't just waiting in line forever and you had to wait for one spigot. There was like 5, 6, 10 spigots per station, and I think there was at least 4 or 5 stations throughout the area. So that was super, super cool. Really, really made the time, it reminded me of like all of the mistakes that other festivals have made in the past by gouging for water prices and things of that nature. It showed to me that it was either the venue or Danny Wimmer Presents, or both, working in conjunction with each other to make sure that we all have the best possible experiences and everyone is safe and hydrated. And that was just simply cool. Never seen that before at a festival. Also, we have to give big ups to Mother Nature on this one, because for the first time ever, I, A, did not sweat to death, B, have to run and hide from the sun because it was so apocalyptically hot, and C, I did not have to run for my life from a cataclysmic hail/thunderstorm. Did not happen once. The most perfect weather for a 4-day festival that you could have possibly ever imagined. I think the hottest it got was like 80, 81 degrees, and the night times were cool. It was perfect. Mother Nature just said, here, have a perfect festival. And that we did. And with that, on to the performances. My God, man, let me tell you, I looked at this lineup from the beginning, and I'm going to come off as an old head here, as an old fogey, if you will. But nothing on the undercards really interested me a whole hell of a lot this year, which is an unusual thing, because usually it's the undercard that I enjoy more than the headliners. But this year, wow, like the main supports, the closers of the second stage, and then the headliners were just second to none across the board. So we showed up just in time on Thursday, day one. We got there late. And mostly it was because there wasn't a lot of bands that I wanted to see there. Plus, I have a full-time job that I had to work until about 1 or 2 a.m. the night before, so I couldn't get out until about 10 or 11 o'clock the next morning, and it's like an 8-hour drive for me. So that's the end of that story. But we showed up and caught the end of Bullet for My Valentine on the second stage, closing out the second stage. And they were cool. They were good. They were very excellent. I'm not going to go much into it, though, because I'm not a fan of that band. But I will say that I enjoyed what I saw and I enjoyed what I heard. So nice. Tool, it was cold. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I wore this very hoodie. Now, I know why you're wondering. I'm going to tell you right now. It's 85 degrees where I live right now, and it's summertime here in Central PA. But I will also tell you that my house is frigid, so I've been walking around in a hoodie, and it's what I prefer. So don't judge me. But I wore this very hoodie because it was that cold. It was very chilly on Thursday night, which is a pleasant change of pace because usually when I go to Rock on the Range or Sonic Temple, it's usually blistering hot. So very cool to be able to see a show and enjoy a show without sweating my cojones off, okay? So Tool, I mean, my God, first off, you can't ever go wrong with Tool. Tool is always amazing live. I've never seen them where they were disappointing. However, I will say that this show was better than any of them that I've seen since the 90s, and probably even better than the 90s. The reason why? Maynard James Keenan sounds incredible. Oh my God, this guy sounds amazing. I don't know if he dove into the fountain of youth. I don't know if his vineyards and the wine that he's brewing up these days are like is some kind of magic elixir that makes your voice better. He was never bad. He has never been bad. But like he was like hitting notes that he hasn't hit that I haven't heard him hit in years. He was sounding aggressive, almost like with the same aggression back in the day. I mean, slightly less. Some of the songs were tuned down, but that's what's expected. I mean, these guys are like in their 50s now. They're approaching their 60s. This was a phenomenal performance, and they were tight, and the stage show was incredible. The highlight of the entire set was Maynard during a three-song run where they did Push It, Pneuma, and The Grudge, 3 in a row. Now, I don't know if you're a Tool fan, and if you're not, listen to those 3 songs in a row. And if you're gonna like Tool, that's gonna be the 3-song rip that's gonna get you. But as a Tool fan, there is no better 3-song rip than that, unless they close that 3-song rip with a 4th song called Third Eye. That would be the only way that 3-song rip could have gotten better. Tool was an absolutely incredible starting point, and actually made me think to myself, wow, Avenged Sevenfold, Kiss, Foo Fighters. The bar is set really high.
Don't hate me, don't hate me, don't hate me more than I hate myself. Don't hate me, I'm sad enough.
Friday came around, and Friday was the day that we spent the most time at the festival. We got there probably around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were there just in time to catch Knocked Loose and Converge, who were probably 2 of the heaviest bands we saw at the whole festival while I was there that I caught, and they were super good, super good. I'm not familiar with Knocked Loose. Like, I've heard their songs, but like I've never seen them live, even on a video. Like, I've never watched them live, and they put on one hell of a show, a lot of energy. The Octane stage, if I had a criticism of the entire festival, every time I was watching something at the Octane stage, for some reason, the sound just seemed off to me. The other stage, which the name eludes me right now, but it was the smaller stage, and the sound there was great. The sound in the bowl at the main stage was phenomenal, like was off the charts good. But the Octane stage always kind of had like some kind of like tinniness, or like sometimes the sound would seem to cut out. Like I don't know if it was the wind that was affecting it that much, because in the other 2 stages maybe they were shielded from the wind or whatever. So it took away a little bit from bands like Bullet for My Valentine, and in this case talking about Knocked Loose, where it seemed like the sound started to fluctuate a little bit. But with that being said, they still had a ton of energy. Converge is just a flat out hardcore band that was blistering. They were absolutely blistering, wonderful. I wish more people had shown up to see them. It's not like they had a sparse crowd. It wasn't tiny, but it also wasn't very big either. I wish more people would have paid more attention to Converge, because they were simply fantastic. first got there, we went into the bowl, actually, before any of that, before Converge or Knocked Loose, we saw Bad Flower. And I have to say that as much as I don't love the newest Bad Flower album, it's not that I dislike it, I just don't like it as much as Okay, I'm Sick, which was their first album, or their EP before that. But I like some of the songs, and I heard most of the songs that I like from the newest album. And what I will say, though, is that as much as I did not love their newest album, they just get better as a live band. They're so good. Like, they are just so much energy and so fun and funny. And like Josh Katz was talking about the crowd surfers, which in a separate video I'll get the crowd surfers. I'm not going to dwell on the crowd surfer thing here, but it's not good. I'm just going to say that the crowd surfer thing has to stop. It has to stop. But Josh Katz from Bad Flower said something really kind of entertaining about it, which was, he said he was looking down on the crowd surfers and he goes, what if aliens were looking down on us right now? What would they be thinking about this? Like, these people get on top of everyone else, and what, everybody beneath them acts like they're water and they carry their people. So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, seriously, crowd surfers, stop. It's fucking stupid. Nobody likes you. Just know that. Nobody likes you. Nobody likes you. Especially the people beneath you.
They don't like you.
Bad Flower was awesome anyway, regardless of all that. They were phenomenal. But then after all that came the real show, the real deal, and that was Queens of the Stone Age, first show back in 5 years, and holy cow, what an awesome show. First off, the balls to open up with your most famous song, No One Knows. Just awesome. The other part of Queens of the Stone Age, besides the obvious things, which they put on a great show, Josh Homme is hilarious. He's great to watch. He's kind of like an arrogant rock star, but like in a cool way. Like, I don't think he'd ever be like a dick to people, but he comes off like he could be, but it's very playful. And he's just, and the reason why I say that for sure is because, well, number one, I've actually met him and spent time with him in a studio when I worked for Sirius Satellite Radio, and I won't go into that story, but like I actually interacted with him, so I know what kind of person he is. I mean, that was 15 years ago, but still, he could have changed, but I have a base idea. And then, what I will say mostly, what came across to me during this show was he was the most appreciative rock star I have ever seen in my life. I have never seen someone so, like, after every show, I mean, after every song, he's just backing up and applauding the audience and just looking on us in awe of like, wow, I'm here again. And he vocalized that on multiple occasions, that he was just so happy to be back doing this. And I felt that energy. I felt his energy of, I'm so glad to be here and I'm so glad you're here with us. That was super cool. I mean, that is just, to me, when you get a rock star of that caliber, show appreciation for the fans that are there, there's nothing better than that. There's just nothing better than that. Avenged Sevenfold came out, and mild criticism right off the bat, their set was short. They just cut their set short. But to their credit, they are warming up for a major headlining tour, and M. Shadows is just coming off like throat issues and whatever, and I would rather hear 20 minutes less of phenomenal Avenged Sevenfold that can go on and do bigger and better things than have them force it for 20 minutes and then have M potentially damage his voice or just do too much. He sounded incredible. The new songs sound amazing. And again, the balls on this band to open with a song that no one has ever heard before. Brand spanking new song. Boom. This is what we're opening with. Brand new song. They've only done it 2 other times, which was the 2 shows before this one. And it was awesome. It's a fantastic song. Great set list. Not much for stage show to speak of. You know, they had some screens and some lights, but nothing really to speak of. I believe they're probably sitting on that stuff until the headline tour. Overall, Avenged Sevenfold, really good ramping up though, okay? On par with Tool with more energy. It's like the show is just as good as Tool, but more energy. So more hype, amping up, just going forward. Saturday we showed up kind of late because there wasn't really a lot of undercard bands that we wanted to see. But the bands I did want to see did not disappoint. Kicking off with Avatar. And I have to tell you that if this band ever gets big enough to play an arena stage, that's going to be one hell of a sick show, because it's like if you take Slipknot and you make it fun and actually like a circus, that's what Avatar is. You got like the lead singer who is like an obvious court jester, and he acts every bit of it. And then in addition to that, since the last time I've seen them, he has added in like hair metal, 80s metal type screams and singing to his repertoire, and it is fantastic. I cannot speak highly enough about how good Avatar was. Go see them. Go listen to them. They deserve to be an upper echelon metal band just for show alone. It would be worth dropping $75 to see I think they would have a Ghost level show. I really do. They put on that good a show. Then we checked out Rob Zombie, and I have to say this, and it's going to sound like a criticism, but it's not. So I'm going to preface this by saying that I love White Zombie specifically. Las Exorcisto, the EP before that, even Astro Creep, great albums. Love them. Las Exorcisto might be one of my favorite metal albums of the 90s, okay? So I love White Zombie. And Rob Zombie as a personality, I've spent a lot of time with Rob Zombie back in my days when I worked at Sirius Satellite Radio and I was a board op for Fangoria Radio. That's when he started directing movies, like he was making the Halloween movie and he was doing all kinds of stuff, and he was on that show constantly. So I had time to spend, like I had a chance to spend time with him. So he's an awesome guy. I actually like him as a person, and he's an incredible artist. With that being said, this is a person who has clearly made an entire like 30 plus year music career on aesthetic only. Okay. Great show. Phenomenal show. Had so much fun. Not even saying the songs are bad, but there's nothing to them. They're just fun, and they're just like, and I'm not saying that music has to be cerebral and deep and all this stuff. Like, I'm not being a cork sniffer here. I'm literally just saying that Rob Zombie the guy's a legend. And even more so, I think it's more impressive that this dude can just kind of throw his aesthetic out there. He can just throw his style out there, and it's a show, and it's one hell of a show. So incredible show, great screens, had all his characters. He had like the robot come out, and he had the big ass devil come out, and it was great. It was just cool. The perfect setup for, dare I say, the hottest show in the world. Now, I will say, when I say hottest show in the world, I don't mean the distinction as in it's the hottest ticket and they're selling out everywhere, because clearly they're not, okay? I think the tour is doing okay, okay? They sell enough tickets, obviously. They keep extending the tour and adding dates, so they must be doing okay. But I have not seen Kiss in person with my own eyes, feeling that energy since 2000. And I have to tell you, there were tears. I felt this shit. I got about as close as I could. It's the first time I've ever seen Kiss in a general admission setup where there were no seats or whatever. And I got up there. I was about maybe 10, 15 people from the gate. And those first 4 songs were something special. They came out, and I just boom, and it hit me, and God, those guys put on one hell of a show, and I have to give credit where it's due. Paul Stanley sounded fine. If I'm gonna be hypercritical, he just should stop doing the high screams. Like the woo woo and all that shit. Like, he should just stop doing that because it just sounds bad because he's old. You know what I mean? His voice is old. It's what it is. But the rest of the singing stuff actually sounded pretty damn good. Pretty damn solid. Gene, I was a little concerned that he was melting because he was sweating so much, but he sounded great and he performed excellently. The show was wonderful. I have already mentioned that the crowd surfers need to stop, and this was the point where I've decided that crowd surfers will pay from now on in my presence, but I'm not going to dwell on that here. Just look for the next video. There will be another video, and it will go into great detail about crowd surfing and why it sucks and why it's literally the worst thing to happen to concerts ever. And I know it's been going on for a long ass time, but it seems to be getting worse, and I'll dive into that fully in the next video. But as far as Kiss is concerned, sure, they did not play a very imaginative set list. Wasn't expecting them to. I was 100% satisfied with everything that I saw in Columbus to say goodbye to my first fandom, to say goodbye to my first music heroes, and that was Kiss. Okay, I kissed my childhood goodbye officially because Queen I can't see without with Freddie Mercury. Rush is gone, and now Kiss is gone in my mind. And I know that they still have 6 more months of this tour, but I'm not gonna. This was perfect. This was the perfect end. I got close to see them. I didn't have to remortgage my house to see it, and I got everything I wanted. So thank you, Kiss, for 40. I'm almost 47 years old. Thank you for 47 years of all of this. I say this is my love letter to you. Again, I already did that once with the fandom files here. And if you're new to the channel, check out my fandom files on Kiss. That is my true love letter to this band. I did 4 episodes on Kiss. My true love letter to this band is on this channel, so check that out. But this is my goodbye. This is me saying goodbye to Kiss. Unless you do something egregiously stupid, I have nothing bad to say about them any longer. Ride off into the sunset. You're doing the right thing. You know, I walked into this Kiss show because I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of anger over the Ace Frehley thing, over the Peter Criss thing, over how they dressed up 2 different guys as Peter Criss and Ace Frehley on their final tour. To me, it's kind of cheapening the whole thing. I know, I railed on this for years. I've railed on this. My whole thought process on this walking in that night was, you know how like if you have an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, what have you, and you had really great times with them, but at a point the relationship started to go sour and you held on for maybe a little too long, and then it got like maybe abusive or really shitty at the end, whatever it was. So then you break up and months go by and then you run into them like at a bar or something, and I don't know, that moment rekindles just for a second and you have every reason to be angry at this motherfucker and want to just punch this person in the face, but you have sex with them one more time because God, that shit was good at one point, and you leave it all behind you just for one night. That's what happened here. That's exactly what happened with Kiss and with me, and I can't say that I regret it. I don't regret it one single second. Thank you, Kiss, for all of that, and thank you, Sonic Temple, for making that happen. And then finally, Sunday, after you see the next video, you'll understand, but Sunday I was completely and utterly wiped out, both emotionally and physically, as it were. And Sunday, we showed up very late. We showed up just in time to see Deftones, which was around 7 o'clock. Like, we spent the whole... Because, again, there was nothing earlier in the day that I've seen the Pretty Reckless like 15 times. I've seen AWOL Nation multiple times. I've seen nothing more than I can count. These were all bands that I would have liked to have seen, but didn't really care much to see them. Sure, I could have shown up and been like, well, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with The Bronx. Okay, well, I'm sure I'll catch them again if they're any good. If they're any good, they'll show up again. So my apologies to all of those bands, but we showed up at 7 o'clock and it was time for the Deftones. The Deftones were great. They were normally what they were. My only caveat here with the Deftones is that there are certain songs that I just don't like, and I consider them hype killers. And they just continue to play them live, and I understand why, because they're very popular songs, namely "Be Quiet and Drive" and "Change in the House of Flies." To me, they're just downers, and I know a lot of Deftones stuff are literally downers, but like, I'm talking about musically, they just plod along, and they're not terrible songs. I just don't love them in I just don't love them in a live setting. So that's a me thing, not a criticism of the Deftones necessarily. I still thought they were a phenomenal show. Chino Moreno is every bit the hero that he's been for decades now, and he still brings it. Then we went to see Sublime, and me, my friend, and my son almost got puked on. So that's how I knew it was day 4 at Sonic Temple, because it was getting really kind of out of control, and people were not any longer regulating their liquor intake. They were throwing it all out there, folks. And for Sublime, there was so much weed smoke in the air, which, again, not against that. Think that's wonderful. Good smell and the whole bit. Everybody knew these songs. And it was a funny generational thing that I witnessed, because Sublime is one of those bands that if you were alive when they came out, like in the 90s, you fucking know. Because those songs were everywhere, right? What I Got, Santeria, Wrong Way, Summertime. Like, all these songs were everywhere. They were everywhere. They were on the radio. They were on MTV. They were at parties. They were at the proms. They were everywhere. Just literally everywhere. My son is 20 now, right? He's 20 right now. He doesn't know Sublime. Now, I've listened to Sublime, so he's heard it before. But he doesn't know. Like, he didn't know that this many people knew them. So he was surprised that Sublime was even closing the Octane stage, and that every single person in the place was singing every song. He was so surprised by it. So it was really interesting to see that generational gap there for something like that. Like, some bands like Korn and Tool and Rage Against the Machine, and bands that have maintained relevancy and continued to be in the social consciousness, he got to know them. He's picked up on them not only through me, but on his own. Like, he initially heard Tool through me and then picked up on it on his own. He initially has heard Rage Against the Machine through me and then ran with it because they became relevant again with the tour last year and all the other stuff that they do. Tom Morello is constantly involved in stuff. So, but Sublime is kind of just like a product of their time, and they stay there. And unless you listen to rock radio or go searching for what like a pop reggae sounds like, you're not going to know Sublime really. Like, you may hear a song and go, oh, what's that? Like, but it's not in your face and it's not prominent like it was back in our day. So that was really cool about Sublime. Other than that, Sublime is Sublime. It was fun. Moving on, because the real headliner of the entire show was yet to come. And that is the Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters.
And the Foo Fighters were, who does it better? Really? Like, who does it better than the Foo Fighters right now? Like, unless you just hate regular rock music or you dislike the Foo Fighters, there is no one on this earth that plays rock music that does it better than the Foo Fighters. There is none. Dave Grohl is the legitimate ambassador to rock music across the world. Everybody loves Dave Grohl. Nobody dislikes Dave Grohl. And if you dislike Dave Grohl, that's a you problem. That is not a Dave Grohl problem. And they just played hit after hit after hit. They even played some deep cuts like No Son of Mine. They played from Medicine at Midnight. They even played a song that nobody's ever heard of before, which was Nothing at All, which was a brand new song. They played the two new releases, which are just fantastic songs. Played all their hits, and I still didn't hear several. I didn't hear DOA. I didn't hear Big Me. These are songs that were staples of my childhood, of my teenage years. So just there's nothing else really to say. And at the end of it all, it was an emotional night because you can feel the Taylor Hawkins presence, but they also showcased their new drummer, Josh Freese, who is phenomenal. And I didn't even know who this guy was. Like, he played with Nine Inch Nails. He played with Devo. Like, this guy's been around. And it showed. He's so good. Their stage show is incredible. If you have a chance to see Foo Fighters on this tour, please go see them, because Dave Grohl's on top of his game. They all sound incredible. They're another band that seemed incredibly gracious and just so happy to be there that it's hard to imagine going to a Foo Fighters show and not feeling uplifted afterwards. There's just no way. And that ends the lineup. That ends the show. And I have to say, this was, without question, I've been to 25 different festivals. And this was, without question, the greatest 4-band run of headliners that I think I could have imagined. It kept getting better and better every night. And that's not an indictment on Tool and Avenged Sevenfold and then Kiss, and then ultimately, you get to the end with Foo Fighters. It just felt like the perfect ramp up. Tool is like this heavy, slower, lower energy, but heavy prog thinking man's music. And then you get to Avenged Sevenfold, which is like all hype, right? But more of a basic metal. Even though they're heading towards a progressive metal thing, they're still a little more basic than Tool, obviously. But they're very hype. And a lot of people were there to see Avenged Sevenfold. The amount of Avenged Sevenfold shirts I saw were just off the charts. That was probably the most shirts I saw of any one band was Avenged Sevenfold. Then on Saturday, you had Kiss, who brings nothing but energy. And they rely on their stage show at this point because they're old guys, man. They're fucking old. But they were your legends. They were the legends in the room, and they showed up and played like it. They were every bit the legends that they tout themselves to be. You wanted the best, you got the best. The hottest band in the world, Kiss, absolutely, without question. That is the hottest stage show I've ever seen, without question. And that goes for Rush, and that goes for I think Rush show was better overall because the music and the abilities and the songs and the whole bit. But in terms of pure stage show, that Kiss show was the craziest off-the-wall shit I've ever seen across the board. Just insane. Just absolutely insane. But then you get to Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters! Who doesn't rely on stage show at all and still equals the legendary status and the energy level of Kiss. All in all, Danny Whitmer Presents, they put together a phenomenal lineup here. They did an amazing job of keeping us safe and hydrated for the most part, and comfortable. They did a really good job, and the spacing in the place was generally good. I never once felt overcrowded. Danny Whitmer, who, again, with the Foo Fighters, who does it better? I don't know. But I thank them for allowing me the opportunity to cover this event, and I hope I get to do more in the future. And I want to thank you for going on this journey with me and listening to what I have to say. And hopefully next time around, you'll come to Sonic Temple, and hopefully I'll have tickets to give away next year like I did this year. We shall see. But that's all I have to say on Sonic Temple. So until next time, I want to thank you so much for being here with me, as I so much enjoy being here with you. And until next time, we'll see you later.